All right, welcome back to our Grindhouse discussion.
We're going to be talking about a very infamous, highly controversial film, Swedish. What's the director's name?
Bo Arne Vibius.
His film, Thriller, A Cruel Picture.
Yeah,
Which,
Thriller en grym film in Swedish. It's called They Call Her One Eye.
Yes, yeah, that's the alternative. A really badass title. So the story about this movie, though, is we talked about watching this movie for a long time.
Yeah.
And
this is a great movie, dude.
It's incredible. And
this is a great movie.
I blind bought this really expensive Blu-ray because I really wanted to see the movie because it's really hard to see.
It was worth it.
And it's maybe one of the best blind buys I've ever had in terms of movies because like this movie is, I think it's one of the greatest movies of its kind ever made. I think it's one of the most highly pushing boundaries and extremely stylish, very emotional. Like it hits like all the marks of what I love about specifically grindhouse movies and just horror revenge movies. Like it is just one hell of a movie and it fires on all cylinders.
It's like the greatest, maybe like the greatest revenge movie I've ever seen. Because just
up there, yeah.
Just because of how satisfying it all is by the end when she finally gets her revenge.
She gets all the dudes get their comeuppance.
And so trigger warning. This is like a graphic movie. We're going to be talking about assault. We're going to be talking. This is a rape revenge movie, and
emphasis on a lot of sexual assault in this movie.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. So just trigger warning. Yeah, so basically this movie follows this girl that when she was 12, she was assaulted, or she was like even younger than 12. She was like
a little toddler.
A little girl that basically she gets assaulted by this homeless man, and the assault is so traumatizing that she goes mute.
She's muted.
And she grows up with her grandma or her like a great aunt or something.
Yeah,
like
some old relative,
Yeah, on like a farm in Sweden somewhere, taking care of farm animals. And then she's eventually seduced by this pimp that gets her basically addicted to heroin, and then he pimps her out, basically. So he has her addicted to heroin, and she can't leave because she's addicted.
She's self-reliant on the drug. If she like leaves for too long, she'll die of what do you call it when withdrawal syndrome. And it's just it's the most like subversive way to kickstart like a revenge story because it's brutally just this woman's being just hit from every angle.
And she's kidnapped basically. She's kidnapped and forced into prostitution.
And the fact that she's mute adds this other element of just extremely just disturbing implications that she can't tell anyone. She can't scream for help. It's this helpless feeling for the first act of this movie.
Oh yeah. The first like 2 acts of this fucking movie
it felt like an eternity.
Yeah, and she's addicted to heroin, and she only gets, I think, she gets an allowance. She's basically prostituted for like every day of the week except for one day of the week. Yeah. She has a day off.
Just one day off, and she uses it.
She uses it to go and train.
Train to fucking murder people.
Yeah, train to murder people. But
and drive like a badass, too.
Yeah, to learn how to drive and to use guns and to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier on in the film, she is... At one of her first clients she gets, she like scrapes his eyes out. Like he like scrapes his whole face, like damaging him really badly. So her punishment is the pimp fucking takes a little blade and like
punctures her eye
out.
And that's why she has if you see the cover, she has this eye patch.
Yeah.
I think adds just a whole element though for the physicality of her character. Yeah. Which is just so incredible. But talking about physicality, the director of this movie inserted real genital on genital sex in these rape sequences to add just a whole nother level of subversion and just honestly disgust for us watching.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly graphic, but just so effective. And this movie's so filthy. I love all the boundaries it pushed. All justified, by the way. This whole movie felt justified. And just, like you said, just so rewarding when shit hits the fan.
And she has to see all these clients, both male and female.
Yeah.
The sex scenes are actually like intercut with hardcore sex. So you're seeing real penetration. There's a part where like there's a guy like pulls out from her asshole and like comes on her ass.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy shit, like it's real like sex like intercut.
It wasn't the actors, right? It was doubles that were
it was
actually having
doubles.
sex.
But there is simulated sex where they're like naked though,
Mm-hmm.
and you see her naked.
Of course.
But Christina Lindberg, who
amazing performance.
Gorgeous Swedish model.
Yeah.
She did like nude photography and shit like that, and became really, really famous in Sweden. Basically, Bo Arne Vibius had to make this movie because he made an earlier film that flopped, and he was just trying to make like the most exploitative picture ever that would like make money. So that's why he came up with this like crazy rape revenge movie plot so he could like actually like that could become a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we also got to mention that he worked with Ingmar Bergman early on in his career. Remember, he did additional directing for Persona.
Really?
And I believe another, maybe The Hour of the Wolf.
Damn.
So he has deep roots in Swedish filmmaking, to say the least. But you can see there's an very, very artistic approach to this movie in certain ways.
Oh, yeah.
The way it's edited especially, but also like the compositions are just gorgeous in this movie. Like there's a very artistic approach, which I think drew me specifically just in a lot further into this movie. Like I felt very watched over by the whole experience.
Yeah, and basically like the way that she gets out is that she gets money, she gets allowance, she starts saving allowance so she could like buy more and more heroin so that when she finally is able to escape from the pimp, she'll have enough heroin to like lean off of it, basically like go somewhere else where she can get clean and everything. But first she takes the days off to train, and then the rest of the days she's fucking the clients. And then she learns, she gets combat training, she gets gun training, she gets car training, and then we get all of this like until like the third act where she finally is able to like get her revenge, and we get
everything is utilized to the extent that we saw. So this movie's effective because it beats you over the head with the assault, but also her training. So you kind of get in tune with her point of view and basically her headspace. So like you're being brutalized along with her, but you're also kind of feeling that revitalization of the training and how it like brings her back to life. And it is such an effective structure of this movie.
And the music is so good.
Yeah, oh god.
The music is so good. It's like minimalist, like droning, like it's so fucking
like high pitched sort of ambient noises that are just so simple. And like the whole thing about this movie is very simplistic and just kind of bare bones in terms of what they're telling, but the way it's told, it's just so like it's a dream come true if you're into this sort of filmmaking. And just like I said, one of the greats of its time. Yeah,
when she finally goes on the rampage, not only is it like satisfying, but like it's so dope when she like shoots people. The slow-mo is so fucking cool.
Yeah, and the sound effects are just ear-piercing.
Yeah, it's just like so sick. And then we get also like a car chase scene where like which is like so fucking dope, and
so well staged.
Car like blows up and everything, and then like you get this really dope ass final showdown between her and the pimp, and he does, and she like uses like the way that she like uses the horse with the rope. Oh man,
so satisfying. It's almost like a Western revenge at the end. It's like this landscapes are all they're in the middle of nowhere, and it's like the horse is utilized. And we should mention like she picks off literally everyone that assaulted her, I believe, which is so like you get to know these people like at least by like a visual sense. You remember the women and that really obese guy, and the way she picks them all off, you see them being killed, and it's like you just immediately think back to those scenes where she's being assaulted, and it's like fuck, it's just so riveting and just amazing, just visual storytelling, like so simple in its telling, but just like it just sticks with you, man. Oh yeah, and this is definitely like the eye patch thing is definitely was taken in Kill Bill. Elle Drivers. Quentin Tarantino loves this movie, which is Daryl Hannah's character.
It's not surprising that he loves this movie.
Of course, this is his bread and butter.
Daryl Hannah has the eye patch, and this is I think this is the second film ever to be banned in Sweden.
You can see why.
And I think the first one was by Victor Sjöström from a movie from like 1912. So really, it's like of like the modern era. It's like the first banned movie in Sweden because just how graphic it is. It's so fucking graphic, bro. Just like the sex and the violence and the eye cutting. It was so like controversial that like people were like protesting it. You know what I mean?
I think it's so palatable for people of our generation though, because it's, at least if you're a cinephile, like you're kind of used to this graphic
It's
nature
so rough,
of
dude.
revenge stories. But
I think even for us, we were kind of like,
it
holy
is.
shit. It was
It's very rough.
Like
It's not for the faint of heart. But we appreciated the artistry and the big swings it took. I think more than what other people would take away is, oh, that was really fucked up. Is what I meant to say.
And we watched it with Cal, the storyboard artist.
He was there? Oh, he was there.
Yeah. And that was really interesting when we watched it.
I don't think he knew what he was getting into, to be fair. But
we warned him. We really warned him.
Like, this.
But he liked it, I think. I think he actually liked it, too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this movie, it's a classical revenge, satisfactory movie that's just incredibly... It's very just an emotionally heightened experience. Like,
yeah, it's so sad. It's so cathartic. And there's no movie that comes out nowadays that has that catharsis to it, bro. Like, they're really, because it's like the depths of like hell she has to go through, like the worst possible scenario that she's in, and then she's able to like fight back and like get the redemption. It's just like so fucking satisfying, because throughout the whole, like most of the movie, she's just being violated. The whole movie, from the beginning to the end, like to like near the end, she's basically just getting fucking violated.
It is.
And then she fights back blood for blood, and you're like, yes. Yes, you know?
Yes.
And
yes.
You just don't see that nowadays, and I don't know.
Absolutely. And of course, even the risk of having a muted protagonist, because like that's the thing, like all of her trauma, all of her wants and needs are expressed through her face, and why it's such a incredibly impressive performance. But I think that's like the masterstroke of this movie, is that it shows and doesn't tell you anything. Like, it's all in the action, it's all in the filmmaking, and it's like the purest form of revenge storytelling. I think that exists. And I think one of the greatest films of the decade, the 1970s, and I think it's one of the best movies I've seen this year. And I can't believe that more people don't talk about it.
No, it's sick. I would watch it again with you. Like, maybe I know Antonio wants to watch it, but I would watch it
with Antonio. Would love it. Yeah.
It's just like sick, and like it's really like well crafted too. It's not just like some exploitation bullshit. It's actually like a piece of art.
Yeah.
It's definitely a piece of art, and like one of the greatest revenge movies I've ever seen, just because of the whole arc and the catharsis of it.
I agree. Yeah. It's one of the most well-crafted movies of its kind. For sure. And if you're into the exploitation cinema, and if you like something like A Spit in Your Grave, or...
It's way better than those like famous ones too.
It is.
I mean, it is grouped in with them, but this one is like the best one out of like I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left type beat. You know,
was that fascination with rape revenge as a subgenre? Like, this is...
There's got that European flair to it too. That Swedish, you know, beautiful countryside flair to it.
I think it goes back to what you're saying though. Like, I don't think this movie was a sellable product in its conception. Like, that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
But I think the approach to the filmmaking was more, we got to tell a compelling, artistic story.
It was a guy who had his back to the wall.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a desperation in the filmmaking.
Yeah.
You could tell, and like within the confines of this character's mind too. So it all works like harmonious, and to a point where it's like, I think it's a masterpiece. Yeah. And like, you cannot replicate this movie in any sense, I think, since it's come out. So
Quentin Tarantino tries to do it. Like, he tries to get that catharsis, and I think he like...
And you do, but not to this point, the extent. Like, Kill Bill and Inglourious Basterds, Django. All fantastic, but on the coattails of this movie, if you ask me.
For real. This is like cutting edge, fucking coming out early 70s, like right after censorship is lifted, and like what you can get away with. And Pasolini was doing his shit, and you know, like, it was just crazy, bro. But we should talk about Stallo sometime too. But,
great film, and it's been great talking Grindhouse with you.
Yeah, man.
Do it again sometime soon.
Thriller: A Cruel Picture, 1973. Check it out.
Blind Buy the movie. Support this movie.
Yeah. Definitely watch it if you can.
Yeah, find a way to watch it.
It's hard to find online. You have to get the Blu-ray, but
I spent $30. It was well worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it, bro.
It definitely was.
Medium Cool Show, Cinebums. We out.
See ya.